Oops. No, I wasn't.
The story begins in the not-so-distant future of 21st century Gotham City, where the mantle of Batman no longer belongs to the aging Bruce Wayne. The torch has been passed to a younger, more energetic hero, Terry McGinnis, who carries on the Dark Knight's crusade against crime under Bruce's mentorship. One evening, Terry swoops in to thwart a robbery in progress. A small but troublesome gang of jokers, clown-faced punks, who idolize the infamous villain, attempt to steal a sophisticated system scanner from Gotham Shipping. The gang includes Bonk, Wolf, Ghoul, the DD twins, and Chucko. Terry shows off his superb fighting skills to the villains instead of stopping them for good, and being the villains that they are, the Jokers use it to their advantage. The gang ultimately uses his act of trying to protect one of the twins from a fall against him. Although he still stops them from stealing the whole scanner, they get away with the memory board. Later, deep within the Batcave, Bruce Wayne, the OG Batman, spends some quiet time practicing his old skills by tossing a batarang at some dummy figures, with his loyal Great Dane Ace at his side. Terry returns from the mission, expressing his frustration about it being the third time in the month that the Jokers would be trying to intercept high-tech machinery. He voices his concern about Bruce's plans to return to running Wayne Enterprises full-time, questioning whether Bruce will still have time to support him as Batman while dealing with corporate politics and power struggles. Particularly, the company manager, Jordan Price, has already made it clear that he does not want Bruce back in control. He publicly states that the affairs of the company would be too overwhelming for a geezer like Bruce, but in reality, he just wants to be the one to head the company. Bruce, however, is firm. He refuses to give up his decision to reclaim his family's company. After the heavy conversation, Terry takes a break from the weight of heroics and responsibility. He joins his girlfriend, Dana Tan, at a vibrant Gotham club, temporarily allowing himself to enjoy life as a normal teenager. Meanwhile, in the shadows of Gotham's underworld, the gang of Jokers meets up with the mysterious figure pulling their strings. Their leader, the Joker himself, immediately berates the gang for their failure, furious that they returned with only the memory board of the system scanner instead of the entire device, as he smashes it with his bare fist. Bonk, one of the gang members who is still sore from his earlier fight with Batman, snaps back at the Joker, openly expressing his doubts about whether this man is really the clown prince of crime. He argues that Joker is keeping them all in the dark about his plans, which seem to involve stealing strange technological components instead of anything traditionally valuable. Bonk finally decides that he has had enough and announces that he is leaving the gang for good. The Joker's demeanor shifts in an instant. He pulls out a gag pistol and aims it at Bonk, but when he pulls the trigger, a flag pops out reading "Bang," making it seem like nothing more than a cruel joke. Bonk, who was already pissing his pants, sighs with relief, but in a horrifying twist, the gun fires for real. It kills Bonk on the spot, leaving his body with a twisted grin.
So was I.
This brutal act immediately silences the remaining Jokers and cements their loyalty. Terrified of getting bonked into the great beyond, they nod along like bobbleheads to Joker's increasingly bad ideas. The villain gleefully decides that their next target will be Wayne Enterprises itself, brushing off the gang's concerns that the company's security will be nearly impossible to bypass. A few nights later, Bruce Wayne attends a formal party celebrating his long-awaited return to Wayne Enterprises. While he gives the opening speech, the evening takes a dark turn as the Jokers crash the event in a chaotic assault. To the shock of everyone present, Bruce included, the Joker makes a grand entrance, leaving the entire room frozen in fear. His presence seems almost impossible, as if a ghost has come back to haunt them. Terry, the current Batman, arrives to try to stop them, but the Joker, who had carefully orchestrated the raid, successfully gets his hands on whatever device he was after and escapes easily. Driving back from the party, Terry bombards Bruce with questions, trying to make sense of what just happened. He theorizes that this man could be a clone, an advanced robot, or perhaps he managed to find the original Keanu Reeves' serum to preserve his youth, while Bruce aged like a free gym membership you never used. Bruce, however, remains stoic and refuses to engage in speculation, offering Terry no answers. Elsewhere in Gotham, former Robin, Tim Drake, who is also now an adult leading a quiet life, watches the news in disbelief. Seeing the Joker alive once more stirs up old memories he would rather leave buried. Determined to get answers, Terry pays a visit to Police Commissioner Barbara Gordon. She warns him not to take this enemy lightly, reminding him that the Joker was the most dangerous and unpredictable foe Batman ever faced. Barbara hopes that Terry never has to confront the true Joker because the real one is far worse than anything the new Batman has yet encountered. On Terry's way out of her office, he walks into Tim Drake going in. Back in the Batcave, Bruce is still in disbelief. He meticulously analyzes the Joker's voice against decades-old recordings, and the voice print matches perfectly. Despite the evidence, he insists that it is impossible, since he was present when the Joker died years ago. Terry presses him for details, but Bruce refuses to relive the painful past. In a moment of finality, Bruce asks Terry to hand over the Batsuit, declaring that the Batman legacy must end before this threat escalates. Angry and frustrated, Terry storms out and heads home, feeling dismissed. The next night, trouble finds Terry again. While relaxing with Dana at the club, he is ambushed by the Jokers, who genuinely show up to stir him up. At the very same time, the Joker himself infiltrates the Batcave, does a great deal to Ace, the Mutt, and confronts Bruce with his mischievous laughs. Although troublesome, Terry manages to single-handedly fend off the Jokers and hand Dana, who got a bad bump and some cuts from the fight, to some medical practitioners. On his way out, he has a chilling realization about the attack being too personal to be random. Whoever is behind this must know Batman's secret identity. Terry tries to reach Bruce but gets no response, so he races to Wayne Manor. When he finally arrives, his worst fears are realized. The Batcave itself has been desecrated with Joker graffiti, mocking the very symbol of Batman. And in the center of it all lies Bruce Wayne, collapsed on the floor with his face twisted into the Joker's signature paralyzing grin. Bruce mumbles some words and points towards a particular table, directing Terry to an antitoxin formula he had been developing. Terry quickly grabs it and uses it to save the old man's life. The following morning, after a long and restless night, Terry goes straight to Commissioner Barbara, determined to finally get answers. At first, Barbara is reluctant to share the details of that terrible chapter in Batman's history, warning Terry that some things are better left buried. But Terry persists, refusing to back down. His resolve and his genuine concern finally break through her hardened exterior, and she sighs, realizing that he deserves to know. Barbara begins recounting a grim story from 4 decades earlier, taking Terry back to the night when Gotham faced one of its darkest hours. It was the night the Joker died. At that time, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, had already left Gotham to forge his own path, leaving Batman and Batgirl Barbara herself to patrol Gotham together. Tim Drake, still a young but capable Robin, was out on his usual nightly patrol when he spotted what appeared to be an old woman in distress. Acting on instinct, he rushed in to help her, but the helpless old woman turned out to be Harley Quinn in disguise. Before Tim could react, Harley swung her oversized mallet, knocking him out cold. Tim vanished without a trace since that night. Days turned into 3 agonizing weeks. Batman and Batgirl searched every corner of Gotham, following every lead, interrogating criminals, and scouring the underworld. But there was still no sign of Robin anywhere. Then, at last, a single clue surfaced, just enough to point them toward the abandoned ruins of the original Arkham Asylum. The old psychiatric hospital was long since shut down, but That was where Batman and Batgirl finally came face to face with the culprits. Standing in the eerie halls were the Joker and Harley Quinn, waiting for them as if they had been expecting this confrontation all along. With a theatrical flourish, the Joker introduced his latest masterpiece to his horrified audience. Their beloved Robin's face was frozen into a grotesque grin, and his expression was just like the Joker's. The Joker proudly called him Joker Jr., laughing maniacally at the sight of Batman's barely contained rage. Unable to restrain himself, Batman lunged at the Joker, and a vicious fight broke out between the Dark Knight and his arch-nemesis. Meanwhile, Batgirl chased after Harley, determined to stop her once and for all. Their fight took them outside onto a catwalk, high above a deep drop. Harley slipped and fell, and Batgirl did her best to save her, but failed woefully, just like you did on your last math test, causing Harley to plummet down into the darkness below. Back inside, the Joker lured Batman into a theater room where he had prepared one last cruel trick. On an old projector screen, he played a home movie, documenting the psychological and physical torment he had inflicted on Tim during his captivity. The footage was almost unbearable to watch. It showed the boy being tortured, brainwashed, and injected with Joker's venomous toxins until his personality had been broken down and rebuilt into something far more disturbing. Out of torture, Tim had revealed Batman's greatest secret to the Joker, as well as the true identities of Batgirl and Nightwing. The sight of this was too much for Batman to bear. Consumed by fury, he attacked the Joker and genuinely smacked the shit out of him until he started seeing stars. But being the typical good guy he was, he still couldn't bring himself to finish the job. During the struggle, Joker managed to overpower Batman and pin him down. Next, he handed his novelty gun to the brainwashed Tim and asked him to finish the work. But then, in a sudden turn of events, Tim turned on the Joker instead. He fired the gun directly at his captor, piercing through his chest. The Clown Prince of Crime staggered backward, clutching the flagpole sticking out of him before collapsing to the ground, dead. In the aftermath, Batman and Batgirl buried the Joker's body deep beneath the foundations of the old Arkham Asylum, ensuring that no one would ever find it. They told no one about what had really happened that night, no one except Barbara's father, Commissioner James Gordon, who's been dead so long, even the bat signal would ghost him. Tim Drake spent nearly a full year under the care of Dr. Leslie Tompkins, undergoing intense therapy and rehabilitation. Thanks to her compassion and skill, he was eventually restored to sanity, but the experience had left scars that would never fully heal. Bruce, blaming himself entirely for what happened, forbade Tim from ever wearing the Robin costume again, declaring that he would never put another young partner in such danger. Heartbroken, Tim walked away from the life of a crime fighter forever. In time, he built a new life for himself, becoming a highly respected communications engineer and leaving his vigilante days behind. Back in the present, Terry puts the Batsuit back on and goes to visit Tim personally. He still can't shake off the fact that he has the most likely connection to the whole incident. The older man is calm, measured, and seems genuinely at peace with his life. He claims to know nothing about the recent appearance of the Joker, and insists that he was just as shocked to see him alive as everyone else. Tim assures Terry that he has moved on from those days and would never return to being Robin, joking that he would tear up his old costume if he still had it. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Terry investigates Jordan Price and tracks him to his private yacht. There, Price is confronted by the Jokers, who angrily accuse him of being a loose end. It's revealed that Price had secretly helped them steal the technology they needed, but now that his usefulness was over, they planned to kill him. Terry arrives just in time and saves Price's life from a massive explosion. But instead of letting him go free, he has Price arrested and turned over to the police. Back in the Batcave, Terry continues piecing the clues together. Bruce arrives and reminds him that things are not always what they seem. Terry then notices something peculiar. During the Joker's earlier attack on the cave, all the display cases were destroyed, but Robin's suit had been deliberately shredded. Studying the items stolen by the Jokers, Terry realizes they could all be assembled into a powerful satellite control system capable of hijacking a government defense satellite. The level of technical knowledge behind the plan makes Terry suspect that Tim Drake might have been involved, whether willingly or not. Donning the Batsuit and taking Ace with him, he tracks Tim's location in Gotham, only to end up in an obvious trap set for him by the Joker. He gets trapped in a room with sensor guns programmed to fire at anything that moves, and he only barely manages to get out. With the help of Bruce, he's able to figure out the Joker's hideout, but on his way there, he gets intercepted by a massive satellite explosion, which he tries to escape from, ignoring the fact that he was not only destroying the city, but also half the population of people in the whole Gotham. Getting to the hideout, he defeats the gang without breaking a sweat, and heads inside where he finds Tim collapsed on the floor. After confirming that he is innocent from the Batcave, Bruce watches Tim suddenly attack Batman, and transforms into the Joker. The Joker gleefully explains how he secretly implanted a DNA microchip that carried his consciousness in Joker Jr. This allows him to take over Tim's body at will, without him even realizing it. The Joker has come to fulfill every typical villain's dream of destroying the planet without considering where he himself would live. The Joker launches an explosive attack which Batman deflects, accidentally damaging the satellite control system and turning the world destruction laser toward their location. Batman and the Joker engage in a brutal showdown. The Joker, knowing all of Bruce's old tactics, nearly overwhelms Terry. Realizing he can't fight like Bruce, Terry switches strategies. He taunts the Joker, mocking him for never truly being funny and pointing out that Batman never laughed because Joker was always a failure and couldn't even succeed at being a proper clown. The Joker completely loses his shit and realizes how bitter his own medicine tastes. He lays hold of Terry and proceeds to strangle him. Pinned under the Joker's grip, Terry grabs one of the villain's own electric joy buzzers and slams it against the back of his neck, all while laughing mockingly.
I can't hear you!
The shock fries the microchip, erasing the Joker's consciousness and freeing Tim from his control. Terry helps Tim escape just moments before the satellite laser obliterates the entire building. With the help of Ace and a well-timed Joker bomb, they make it out alive. Later, the DD twins are bailed out of jail by their grandmother, an elderly woman they call Nana Harley, who is revealed to be Harley Quinn. She had survived her fall all those years ago and left her life of crime behind. In the aftermath, Bruce visits Tim in the hospital to reconcile with him and make peace with the past. Meanwhile, Terry, with more experience now, fully embraces the responsibility of carrying on the Dark Knight's legacy. The end. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.